fake spring. Although our help.
Are they back? Okay. So I'm going to say a few words for just a minute, and then we'll close the doors. But this is the beginning of the forum. So if you're out in the coffee, in the commons, and you want to come inside here for this amazing forum, please come join us. We will be talking about adult faith formation.
Adult issues.
Adult issues, yes.
Wow.
Oh.
Which is how to be childlike.
So, welcome to those in person and on Zoom and online. I'm Reverend Sara. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Community and Faith Development here. And this forum is being streamed live to YouTube and on Zoom, and is also being recorded. So speak accordingly. You know you're going on the internet. So welcome. Our topic today is adult faith formation, what that is, what it can look like, and what we can do here at OUC together, and what each of us can do individually on our faith formation journeys. So I will begin by lighting our chalice with words from one of our beloved Unitarian religious educators of the early 20th century, Sophia Lyon-Fahs, who said, "It matters what we believe. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding our days with fears of unknown calamities, and other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing us with the warmth of happiness." So I plan on being fairly interactive today, and if you are online and have something to contribute, you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your virtual or real hand, and Carbon, our tech staff, will help bring you into the room here so we can hear you. And if you're in person, raise your hand and I'll bring you the microphone, and that way those online will be able to hear us also. No matter how loud we shout in the room, the people online won't be able to hear us without the microphone.
Without you, there would be no tech person. Without the tech person, there would be no. There we go. See how we're all connected.
Yes. I like how I got credit for everything there. So real quick, I just wanted to talk a bit about what models we typically use to understand what faith formation is, and what are we forming? What is this? And one of the models that is pretty foundational was put together by a man named James Fowler. And so Fowler's model has these stages of faith formation that you expect to go through in a lifetime, although not everyone will get all the way through. And Fowler talked about people getting sort of stuck at various stages of faith formation. His model has been adapted by a UU religious educator named Joy Barry, who gave it some more catchy rhyming words. So instead of stage 1, the mythic literal stage 2, she gave it some nice words where the first stage is where faith is caught. So this is usually early childhood. Most adults are beyond this stage, but you might still be wrestling with things left over from when you were working through this stage of faith formation. Because when faith is caught, it's all about the atmosphere of what you are experiencing. So when we are living in a loving family and a loving community and a loving world, we catch a natural, intuitive faith that tells us that the world is loving and kind, that the universe and God, as you imagine it, however you are picturing this bigger thing, is loving and kind. But if you're living in an environment that is unpredictable or harsh, or you catch a sense of things being scary or being unpredictable. So even as adults, we may still be dealing with messages that were so deeply embedded in that early stage of our lives when we were just catching faith from our environment, from the people around us. Yeah, Drew.
Can you just define faith?
Can I define faith? I knew you were going to ask that question. So faith is one of those words that we all wrestle with a little bit, and so many people have different definitions. The definition that I think works the best for Unitarian Universalists is that faith is whatever gives you the sense that you can move forward. So it's the sense of what is the ground underneath you. Martin Luther King Jr. said faith is what lets you take the next step when you can't see the whole staircase.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. So for UUs, it's a pretty nebulous thing. We don't have faith in a doctrine. So it's not about belief. It's so much as it is about a feeling of there's at least enough there that we can keep going forward. I know it's a little nebulous and poetic explanation, but that's my definition. So the second stage, taught, is, again, usually childhood. But if you're coming into a new faith tradition and you don't know much about it, the taught stage could be something that adults are also engaging with. And this is where somebody is deliberately trying to teach you the facts, the ideas, the stories of the faith tradition or the religious tradition. And it could, in fact, be not a faith tradition. Sometimes the stories that we're taught, like Star Wars, in our secular society, or the Lord of the Rings trilogy, or some of these things become stories that are taught as well and may become part of somebody's faith understanding. So, or even just like cartoons, Calvin and Hobbes might become part of your faith understanding, and it could be something that's taught to you. So our understanding of what counts as a sacred teaching is pretty broad. But anything in this deliberately taught stage. And then the next stage, according to this model, is that a person has a bought faith, which means that you've bought into it. You buy in. So this is frequently, confirmation class. Could be for us, we have coming of age, where we ask our youth to articulate what they believe at this point in their lives. It could be the choice to become a member is when it's bought. But it's a decision to become part of the group. So you're not just learning about it anymore, but now you've said, yes, this is. And often, this is as much about belonging and peers and a sense of that the organization is there for you, or that this is your family, as it is about the faith that you are buying into. So this stage is very much about becoming part of something. And then, because that buying in only gets you so far, the next stage of faith formation is to become a seeker, where faith is sought. So as things, as you encounter things in your life and you try to make meaning of them, or as you go looking for deeper truth for yourself, that could be why you become a seeker. It could also be that the faith group that you bought into starts to not be perfect for you. Or you start to see where it's not quite as ideal as you might once have thought. So some of this sought phase is also about disillusionment and a little bit of unforming, of seeing what's wrong with the faith that you had thought was great. And this happens to a lot of people where they're like, yay, my faith is perfect. And then they're like, oh, it's not perfect. Or my church is perfect. And then, ooh, these people are not perfect. And so that typically happens many times in our lives, not just once. We're not only disappointed once. Which then leads to the fifth stage, hopefully leads to the fifth stage, where faith is wrought or rebuilt. And so this is usually some time of doing this in community, but it could be done individually, of rebuilding your faith with more nuance. And Fowler describes this as the stage of life or of faith where you can hold paradox. You can say, yes, it's not perfect, and it's good. You can have beliefs or values that are in tension with each other, and you can let them just be in tension. More shades of gray thinking rather than black and white thinking. And Fowler describes this final stage as usually a midlife to later stage of faith. But lots of people may cycle through these multiple times. And Fowler describes a sixth stage, which we won't worry about so much, because the sixth stage is full enlightenment, like Buddha or Jesus, and he doesn't describe how you get there. He just says, this apparently happens to some people. So I'm not going to concern myself too much about it. And if it happens to you, yay. Yeah, if any of you attain full enlightenment. Any questions or comments about any of this?
Well, I think what I think is so fun about it is that, I can look back and go, oh yeah, when I got disappointed and I realized people at church are hypocrites. You learn in grade school what hypocrite means, and then you learn in high school that you can discern it around you. And then you go, oh, but I love these people. So it's like, it's so fun to look at all these stages for me and go, oh yeah, there I am.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you said, you can keep going back and forth during your life. It isn't, like stages of grief or something. You don't just, but you can move back and forth.
Yeah, it's not just a linear ladder that you climb and then graduate and you're done. Yeah, it moves around for sure. Anybody online, Carbon? Okay, good. Yeah, so this is something that we are doing here, with children, youth, and adults. We have lifespan faith formation here. And this is something that you, like I said, you could be doing this in an informal way, just in your life. What we're taught isn't just in formal classroom settings, for instance. So I wanted to stop and have a chance for some interaction with what do we actually think our goal of a fully faith-formed adult looks like. What is that? What are the qualities that we might be aiming for in our own faith formation or in the faith formation we want to help others have here in the congregation? And I picked some from many different traditions, so we had different ideas, but what sort of qualities of being would a fully formed, faith-formed adult have?
To me, it seems like someone, well, one, I don't know that you'd ever really be there, but I think for me, someone who is open to new possibilities, kind of like the idea of just the speaking about creativity and things like that. Someone who's open to possibilities, someone who may recognize that that may be a journey, and you may be at different places in that journey at different ages and stages of your life. So I think it's just being open. That's one aspect.
I think that a lot of what does a fully formed, faithful adult look like? I think a lot of that goes along with self-acceptance. To recognize that, you know, if you're striving to have a quality that to you looks like a fully faithful, formed adult, that can become an identity also. So it's honoring and accepting your feelings and emotions about things, and then knowing that you have the choice to make a different choice. So there's, you know, infinite amount of menus here. So this has happened in my life. I can react this way, I can respond this way, and how do I choose to be? But it's my choice because I want to be there and express that, not because somebody says, it looks like this to be fully formed. I think we're always on that path. So that's my idea.
I agree with what everybody's saying, but for me, it's finding something bigger than yourself and being a part of it. And that wherever you go, you need to do that again.
So where I am today is I have found my own personal ethic. Over my lifetime, I have worked in the political arena, dealt with the left and the right. I have been through educational systems where education is the only right place to be. Uneducated people are inferior. That's in a community context. And I finally came to the point where I recognized that only I can decide if my life is comfortable for me and my mind is right for me. And when I began calling myself to account for where I am, I found that my spiritual life has to do a lot with ethics. Be true to me, and then I can be true to you.
Is there anything online, Carbon? All right. I love that I've heard openness, I've heard self-acceptance, I've heard finding a higher power, I've heard ethics. These are all definitely part of the mix. For me, it's a lot about developing the skills to be in right relationship with other people, and that a fully formed, faithful adult has that ability to be in covenant, to forgive, ask atonement, all of those things. Yeah. Anyone else?
I just there thinking about, you know, in my mind, there's no there, so that there's not a destination as being fully functioning. It's ongoing, and as you were saying, being in right relationship, and that changes as we change.
Yes, there's no there.
And lifelong learning, to keep learning is what I think. And you saying about openness, I think is how you become a better person within relationships.
Yeah, these are all beautiful answers. Thank you. So while we're heading in this beautiful direction of doing all of these things to be fully as faithful as we can be, it's important here to remember the mix of people that we have. It's not particular at this point to UU congregations, but UU congregations have a wide variety of folks in the congregation. And so we have lifelong UUs. We've got some of them in the room right now. And so there's folks who grew up UU and have been steeped in this tradition for their whole lives. We've also got folks who are here because they're spiritual seekers, and they may have tried many different traditions, practices, and be continuing to try many different traditions and practices. We have folks who have come in from other faiths, and they do that with a variety of experiences, faith backgrounds, and degree of baggage that they're bringing with them. Some folks are bringing a lot, and others are not bringing that much. We have the religiously traumatized. So those are folks that in their past faith experience, it was really harmful to them, that they in fact experienced something truly traumatic in a different faith tradition. And so they're bringing the pain and the need for healing. And then we have increasingly people who are unchurched, who just have never been part of any faith tradition, and are curious or are seeking that kind of community now. So all of these people have different needs. We can't offer just what the lifelong UUs need, because that would be leaving out all these other folks. And we can't offer just what the come-inners from other faiths need, because that would again be leaving out all these other folks. And at any given time, you might be in conversation with someone else who's coming from such a different background that you are approaching these questions of faith and faith formation and what we do here in a congregation very differently. Yeah. Anybody want to comment on that, or?
Yeah, Sarah, I'm always curious because I don't have other church experiences, and I would think that most congregations are made up of this mix of 5 types. So everybody must struggle with this.
Yes, increasingly all denominations have this mix. It used to be not so much, but there's so much more moving about now in our society that it really, yeah, it's not special to UUs anymore. Yeah. And Holly adds, being reflective to know your values and then being intentional about living them. And I take that as an answer to the, what does a fully formed faithful adult look like? Thank you, Holly. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, so this isn't special to UUs, and the mix is changing because increasingly there's more and more unchurched people. And so even in my time here as your religious educator, the needs have changed where adults would come in before and they'd be like, well, in my old church, it was Presbyterian and we did things this way. But now people come in and they're like, what is this thing? Do you just sit anywhere? So when people are coming in unchurched, the baseline of knowledge about even how a church works at all is very, very different. And so they have some very basic questions that they want answered so that they can be comfortable. And folks have lots of different possible goals of what they're working on. And some of you here maybe have some of these goals. So some folks are working on building their own theology, articulating their beliefs. They want to be up in their head to build an understanding. Some folks want to explore spiritual practices and find the one that resonates for them and build a practice that helps them get in touch with, either inner peace or higher power or however they articulate that. Some folks want to understand more about other faiths so that they can be a better multi-faith citizen, respect others' beliefs, or because they're curious and it's just interesting to know more. And some folks want to unpack and heal their trauma or engage in personal development. So that could look like many different things. And then some people want to learn about the language, culture, history, and more of here, or of Unitarian Universalism. And it's been a long time since we did a survey of people's interests and so forth for adults. But I'd say just anecdotally that it's pretty evenly mixed what people say that they're interested in.
Well, one of the things that struck me is I don't think these are mutually exclusive. It's like, what are, for example, the spiritual practices within the Muslim tradition or the or the Buddhist tradition, and what's the history of, and so I think there's a real interplay that I find interesting too. So that just.
That's what I like about this particular tradition is that I grew up feeling like, I grew up Catholic, and I grew up feeling like, how come there's just this one tradition? And I got very curious as a teenager about other traditions, and my friend and I went and explored everything we could in the area, and I kept saying, but it seems like it's all the good, you know, and that's what I like the best about this tradition.
Yeah, thank you both. Definitely not mutually exclusive. And exploring is definitely part of the point of it all. It's just to be on your own exploration. Yeah. So, it's a little bit of a rhetorical question. How can all needs be met here? I'll just give you the answer right away. They can't. But how can we be providing as much as we can for all these different needs? And how can we be finding our way with our own needs? Any ideas? Love, yes. Love does a lot on this. It's a heavy lifter for sure. If we just approach it with love. Yeah. Compassion. Mm-hmm.
Being open to listening to different ideas and discussion.
Being open to listening to different ideas and different discussion. Yeah. Curiosity. I love that you've gone to attitudinal directions rather than like technical, tactical fixes.
Well, one aspect, and I'm not quite sure how it fits this question, but I think one of the things I valued in classes or groups that I've been in is kind of that relational aspect of, you know, I may be exploring something on my own, but when I can sit down and discuss that with other people that are exploring that same thing, I find real insights in what other people bring to the table. So while I can make some progress on my own, I find doing it in community or in relationship very beneficial. So I think by offering those kinds of opportunities, we enhance the ability of people to get their needs met, whatever they may be.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. The relational. Yeah, I titled this forum as an individual journey, knowing that it's never an individual journey. It's always in relationship. Yeah. So while no one person's journey is going to look exactly like anyone else's journey, we're still doing it together. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Carbon, is there anything online? Nope. Okay. All right. So the other thing that I think is really important for us to remember is we sometimes get into program-centered thinking. And this is actually, it's a process. It's not one single program. Because again, there's so many needs. So folks they're all engaged in their own process. We can't just offer, this is the program for everyone. So this can be ongoing and not met by one single entity within the congregation also. We all have a part in this. We have these new reflection circles happening between worship services so that people want to talk about the reflection questions from the worship service. That meets, I think, exactly what you were talking about, Linda, of getting together with other people to reflect and have your ideas be in relationship with each other. And it's not a class, it's not a program, it's just a circle of people sitting down with their coffee. Yeah, and there can be many other examples like that. Where do we see the process happening here at OUC? In the Commons after services, yep.
In the cottage meetings, such as we just had.
In the cottage meetings, such as we just had, yeah. Almost anything. Yes, almost anything. Yeah. Anytime two or more gather here in my name, there is the church. Yeah. I think it's happening in worship services. I think it's happening at the dinners. I think it's happening at nature group. I think it's happening in team meetings. Yeah. So we do have some, resourcing that we do have going on here. So classes and groups that happen here are intentional resourcing for people's faith formation. We have the classes that are offered. We have many ongoing groups. Yeah, we have somebody online, Carbon? Thursday dinners, yes. Thank you, Karen. And there's increasingly so many book discussion groups happening here. So this seems to be a format to pay attention to also, is that there are a lot of book reflection groups, book groups, and folks who are just reading the same book, not necessarily at the same pace, but then getting together to talk about it. So that's not really, when we think of class with the whole taught, there's a teacher with some sort of subject matter expertise. That's only one model. We don't have to have any sort of subject matter expertise to facilitate a group about something. And I think that's a shift that I'm observing, is that if you were thinking about facilitating a group, you don't have to be the subject matter expert. You don't have to be teaching about it. There's lots of ways to facilitate co-learning that I see happening. And then we have just books and resources that we're like, here, check this out. Here, this is available to you. And that's coming out. We were just in communications team talking about how all of our communications to the congregation maybe are getting a little too long, and our strategies for shortening them. Partly that's because there's so many resources going out, right? There's just so many things. And then we don't have to do it all here within OUC. I put down larger UU offerings, but actually it really should just be larger world offerings. The world is so interconnected now that people could be doing things. If you're interested in allyship training around racial justice, well, right now in the announcements, there's a training that you can register for that's being offered by Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries, also known as DRUM, which is a national UU organization that has expertise in anti-racism work, and they're doing an online allyship class. And these things are available to us now in ways that they weren't before, because so much of this is done on Zoom. Now, if you don't love Zoom, then your options are more restricted to the geographical Olympia area. Even then, there are things in the larger community. So we don't have to do everything here and recreate the wheel over and over again. So I'm going to pause again for questions, comments. Where do you all think we are on this? You took a breath, so I moved towards you.
I was just thinking of all the things that are offered here. I mean, there are so many things to take advantage of. And just personally, I find myself thinking, I'll do that, I want to do that, and I want to do that. And I can't do them all, but certainly there's something for everyone in my book. So, yeah, I think we're doing a good job. And I think the important thing is we're looking to see how we can progress.
And there's something in that, what you said, Beth, about you can't do it all. And so for you all individually, don't try to do it all. Don't try to do it all. That is the way to exhaustion and burnout. Yeah, pick the things that are right for you. One of the really helpful things the first time I went to General Assembly is somebody told me, don't go to everything. Don't do it. Go to your hotel room and take a nap. And we do have to pace ourselves. Yeah. Yeah. So how else can we be a learning community? This is my last slide, and this is where I'm going to just, air the possibly elephant in the room, which is that we're changing. So we aren't the same kind of learning community that we used to be, and we won't be in 5 years the same kind of learning community that we are right now, right? So knowing the needs of where we are at the moment, how can we be the best learning community that we can be? And it's the needs of right now means whatever it means to you, but what you see from your perspective right now, how can we be a learning community that meets the needs of today?
Sarah, I would say that one thing we need to do is to continue making a wide variety of overtures and see what resonates with the congregation. Because as you say, you can ask people what they want in a questionnaire, but what really matters is what do you offer and where do the people show up? And so I guess that puts it on our brain staff here to say, that's a great idea, let's try it. And don't feel discouraged when you try it. And maybe it doesn't fulfill, it's not meeting the needs, so you just keep at it. Don't go for perfection, go for exploration.
I love that. We should make that be a slogan. Online, yes, Carmen.
Well, my suggestion is that, as you mentioned a moment ago, communication is so important. And how can the missives that go out electronically each week really cover the whole of what's happening without being so much that people just burn out reading it? And what other communication channels are there? So there's so much that's going on. And people need to know about it and need to know who the contact person is. So it's a challenge. And I know you're addressing that, and it probably will need to be addressed day in and day out for the entire rest of the future.
Thank you, Connie. Yeah, communication's the biggest challenge it will always be. How to give all the information without overwhelming everyone. And that is definitely an issue. I'll just give a few pointers if you are looking to know what the learning opportunities are in this community. Do check the website. We keep that up to date with the classes. Yes, it's in the weekly email, the update, which is in chronological order. So all those events in the email are in chronological order. So if you're looking for something and you're not seeing it, well, it may be further down because it's just not this week. And we are also putting up more signage and so forth around the building. For instance, like we have the book cart with all the books on it that are going with some of these book reflection groups. And so then there's also signs of like, oh, this book is being discussed on the second Thursday of each month. Or so there's a variety of places to keep your eyeballs peeled. And things are also on social media if that's something that you do. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, we're putting our information out that way as well. Carbon, yeah?
Hi, I wanted to lift up the other person who was saying about just trying new things, and even if it's not going to work, don't be discouraged. And I really was interested what they were saying about tracking who comes to what, like who shows up, right? But I wanted to add to that because there are so many other outcomes that could be really helpful, like the things we've talked about in this class, like people healing from religious trauma or people learning what it means to go to church, or there's just so many things that can be learned from a class. So maybe not just tracking who shows up to things, but setting like an expectation, like we want to learn about this, and then seeing if people actually learned that. I guess that's kind of where I come from my own social position. It seems that uh, that's an important part to set an expected outcome and to see if you actually achieved that with the thing you did.
Yeah, thank you for that, Shyler. Yeah, butts and seats isn't the only measure of success for sure. And some things I will offer, even if only 2 or 3 people show up to it, because I feel like it's still so important for those 2 or 3 people. And, it just depends on what your goals are for that particular offering.
I just wanted to throw out just a possible communication thing to consider. One of the things, because I do stick to the e-blast, I go all the way through to the end, and what I'm wondering is, could we do smaller communications? Like maybe, okay, Tuesday's going to be about what are the small group opportunities? What are the book groups? What are the educational groups? What are those things? And then maybe another one would be about just fun things to do, like or the nature walk or things like that. And then maybe another one, but just even one about volunteer opportunities, so that you're not getting everything in one swell FOOP, whatever it used to be. So I don't know if we've tried that before. I don't know if it would work, but at least you wouldn't be overwhelmed. You'd be getting things in bite-sized gulps.
Bite-sized gulps. Yeah. It's a cool idea, Linda. I'll take it to the communications team and we'll just discuss that. Yeah. Because, themed communications about these are the types of opportunities coming up. Yeah, Carbon? First we have in the chat and then Holly has a raise. Okay, so first from the chat, Karen says, again, being open. The sewing ministry has recently welcomed an 11-year-old who brings her mom. They are both such a bonus. That is super fun. Yeah, and being open to new possibilities. And Holly?
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe there could be like a link in the newsletter if you wanted to hear more about the things that are happening in the community, so that people could choose to get that extra information if they wanted, but not maybe be so overwhelmed.
That's a great idea, and you would be happy to hear that that actually came up as an idea in our last comms meeting, and it's something we're working on. So, yeah. These are all great ideas. We have kind of veered into the communication rabbit hole, which is fine. It is important because how to say this? Doesn't matter what we're doing, I guess, if nobody knows about it. So it is important. But I want to also bring us back to that we could think about what we're doing in addition to how we're communicating about it.
I want to give a shout out to the idea of a different day to meet as the congregation and a different way to approach worship. That has long been a burr under my saddle that we don't have that. And I am so thrilled that the current leadership is embracing the idea. Thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the things that will be explored as we look at growing bigger is a third worship service that would not be the same, would not be another Sunday morning worship service. So, some congregations have a totally different, a Vespers, a Soulful Sundown, so that's something that will be explored. And for anyone who's like, ooh, that's not my idea of worship, Sunday morning worship would not go away. So people choose what they want, right? It's, yeah. Yeah. Choice, not mandate. Yeah.
Another thing just thinking about the staff, just thinking about calling on the staff to do one more major thing.
Yes, resourcing. So it's a really good point, Jenny, and thank you for bringing it up, that we can't do more with less. This is not a government agency during budget crisis being told to do more with less. I mean, that also isn't possible. Nobody ever can do more with less. So, or even do more with the same amount that they have. If we want to have these things added on, it will require having more resourcing of some kind. It doesn't have to be staff, but it has to be some kind of resourcing to make things happen. Some programs are very much 100% volunteer driven still, and some are very much mostly staff driven. And whatever the driver is, we have to have enough of it. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, I want to give a big shout out to Linda Seltzer and Linda Witcher, who are here and are on our adult faith development team. And just to thank you. Well, speaking of volunteer effort and drivers, so thank you very much. And this congregation has had a history of volunteers who put a lot into making sure that there were programs for adults here. And that is another thing that's changing with time. We don't have the number of volunteers that are pouring energy into that program. So our stalwarts here are holding it down right now. And with the change in that amount of volunteer energy and availability comes changes in how it has to be done. Yeah. So, yeah, Lee.
I have been attending OUUC for 7 or 8 years, And every day still, I'm amazed at how much is going on in this congregation that I don't know about. And you have highlighted that fact with these two individuals who are so critical in developing additional resources to grow the community and to grow the depth of the community. I would love to see more of that kind of information shared across the congregation in some permanent way to help people really recognize the depth and breadth of OUC.
So I'm going to give a shout out to a new team, the Story Finders team. And so it's still very young, and they're finding their way and their techniques, but that's their goal, is that they want to collect the stories of what's happening at OUC in a different way than announcements, right? They want to tell the story so that we know what teams are doing or what people have done. Or so there's some projects in the works to do some interviews, to do some oral history projects, and to do some other things like that. And watch for that. And if you're interested in helping with that work, let me know. Yeah. So I thank you so much for your attention and presence today. It really is something that we all are part of, and I hope that you are finding your way on your faith formation journey towards that fully enlightened, 100% formed, faithful adult that we're all aiming to be someday when we all grow up. Jenny, as you came in today, you said something about that you better hurry up, that you're running out of time. Yeah, we're all we're all on a deadline, I guess, if we're going to get there. We just don't know what it is. Yeah. So may your journey be a faithful and fulfilling one, whatever it looks like.
May we thank you, Reverend Sara.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I will extinguish our chalice, but not the light of faith that it represents, that we carry in our hearts. Thank you all so much.